Good morning, everyone. We are just waiting 1 or 2 minutes to let people connect properly, and then we will start with the webinar. Thank you. So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, according to your time zone. I'm delighted to welcome all of you today to this first webinar of the Human Rights Justification and Empirical Webinar Series organized by the Institute of International Relations in Prague as part of the Horizon Europe HR Just project. My name is Federica Cristani. I'm head of the Center for International Law here at the Institute of International Relations in Prague. And today we are delighted to host Professor Kristina Elena Papatake for this webinar on human rights in the context of contemporary international law and transdisciplinarity, book discussion. Christina is the chair of International Institute for Analysis of Legal and Administrative Mutations, associate professor in public international law and the law of communication and new technologies, co-convenor of the EASL Interest Group International Business and Human Rights, researcher Siret Perry, editor-in-chief of Aduris International Investment Law Journal, deputy academic editor of Cogent Social Sciences, Taylor and Francis, and guest advisor editor at Springer Nature, and a very excellent academic expert with many, many interests and many activities. One of the most exceptional academics I've the pleasure to collaborate with. And today she's going to present and discuss her book on le dynamisme du droit international public contemporain and la transdisciplinarity, published by L'Harmattan last year, and the collective volume Le droit international en transition, also published by L'Harmattan this year. The monograph by Christina was also awarded quite recently also the Nicolae Titulescu Prize for International Law by the Romanian Academy. And her monograph offers an innovative exploration of the dynamics of public international law through the lens of transdisciplinarity, something that we are very looking forward to hear more about. And the book examines the intersection of human rights with emerging social, technological, and cultural frameworks. On the other hand, the volume The Droit International in Transition, also co-edited by Christina with Professor Catalin Silva Sararo, examines how human rights are shaped by the evolving paradigms of contemporary international law. And it includes a series of contributions that were presented at the fourth International Conference of Comparative International Law held in Bucharest in June earlier this year. Just before we start the discussion over these excellent books, some practical issues of today's webinar, I will hand over to Christina in a moment, and she will present for about 30-40 minutes, and then we will have time for discussion. You are very welcome to use the chat box in Zoom for any question, comments during or after the presentation, and I will hand over all comments and questions to Christina at the end of this presentation. So please make use of the chat box. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be then available on the HR Just Intersect Observatory website. So without further ado, I'm handing over to Christina. Thanks a lot again for joining us, for making the time for this, and I'm very much looking forward to the presentation and discussion. So please, Christina, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Dobra Rana. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for this introduction, dear Director Dr. Federica Cristani. It is an absolute delight to be here with you today. Also, it's a great pleasure, great honor, and have the opportunity to discuss the methodology of the future, because I intend to put together my books with the methodology of the future, named transdisciplinarity, closely connected to the realities of human rights. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, dear Director of the International Law Center, the esteemed international researcher Federica Cristani, for this opportunity being together here. I also wish to thank all members of Human Rights Just research team at the Prague Institute of International Relations. Today's discussions, I will try to use a PowerPoint. Immediately I will put it, because today's discussion, which links these topics to recent publication, provide an harmonious complement to these new methodological directions. And I will begin with my PowerPoint. Okay. Um, I hope everything is okay. Everybody can see it. Um, and I will start to exploring the general definition of transdisciplinarity, just from a short, for a brief start, and its historical connection to the evolution of human rights. It is essential to note that the clear distinctions between inter, multi, and transdisciplinarity. The primary distinctions between pluri and interdisciplinary lies in the relationship established between the combined disciplines. Multidisciplinary merely brings together independent disciplines to contribute collectively to a scientific endeavor, while interdisciplinarity merge and transform methods, generating new and improved tools more suited to the research subject. Transdisciplinarity, in exchange, goes even further, seeking unity of knowledge beyond isolated disciplines, whereas pluri and interdisciplinary research remain within traditional disciplinary boundaries. I love my topic of research. I love new methodology because I think the evolution of society go in these directions. And in my speech, I will explain to you how, with almost 30 years ago, in the world, the number of knowing disciplines was around 800. And today, we have, I don't know if somebody can guess how much, almost 9,000 disciplines, non-academic and academic. And this is a problem in the end, because we have to cooperate, we have to understand, we have to adapt, and to make rules uh, in a properly way, to be applicable, of course, and efficient. Um, Metaphorically, law has been given various meanings. It is often said that law is medicine for society, or that international law is a political theology. Metaphorically, the connections between different disciplines forming a coherent whole highlight that transdisciplinarity is the driving force behind the current dynamics of international law. As researcher and board member of CIRET Paris, this year we celebrate 30 years since the signing of the Charter of Transdisciplinarity. CIRET stands for the Center for Transdisciplinary Research and Studies. If you explore the center website, it might initially appear as a human rights organization due to the deep integration of transdisciplinarity within its framework. I will call in my presentation transdisciplinarity briefly TD as an acronym. Let's go. Just trying to show you. I don't have too much slides, 13, and I hope that it will be captivant. The Charter of Transdisciplinarity adopted at the First World Congress of Transdisciplinary in Arabiata Convent, Portugal, from 2 to 6 November 1994, paved the way for numerous studies that significantly contribute to the advancement of global scientific research. Currently, both UNESCO and academia, there is intense discussion about establishing an international chair of transdisciplinarity. Maybe next year, maybe in 2 years, maybe in 3 years, but not too long, we'll have in our countries this international chair on transdisciplinarity. In our case, in law, in human rights, it's possible. For a mathematician, they maybe will have an international chair of transdisciplinarity in mathematics, or in medicine for a doctor. What interests us most is transdisciplinarity in law. We cannot imagine contemporary human rights without recognizing that their progress has been made possible by considering all aspects of diversity. This is why we can discuss children's rights and women's rights today. The positive aspects that emerge is the effort made by specialists to analyze and re-establish boundaries through appropriate regulations. This is an issue. The role of transdisciplinary is a kind to that of a foundation. As stated in the Charter of Transdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity complements the disciplinary approach. And maybe I will receive some question about it, because I am so happy to talk about the whole effect of this procedure, because maybe one of the question will be, but maybe this methodology will not affect the autonomy of the discipline. Let's see. From the confrontation of disciplines, new results and bridge emerge. It offers us a new vision of nature and reality. And in my books, I try, especially in my article, wrote with Professor Emeritus Paul, I try to underline these points, let's say like this, applied to climate change. And we will see what's happened here. Transdisciplinarity does not aim to develop a super discipline. encompassing all other but six, seek to open every discipline to their commonalities and to what lies beyond their boundaries. This is Article 3 of the Charter. I will try to, I will send to you at the end of my PowerPoint presentation the link of to the CIRET web page, because there we have fundamental papers, and I hope you will find it so interesting for future research. Um, the charter was adopted with this principle in mind. Only an intelligence that takes into account the global dimension of current conflicts will be able to face the complexity of our world and the contemporary challenge of material and spiritual self-destruction of our species. As life is gravely threatened by a triumphant technoscience that follows solely the chilling logic of efficiency for efficiency's sake. As the contemporary disconnect between uh, increasingly accumulated knowledge and increasingly impoverished inner being gives rise to a new obscurantism with incalculable individual and societal consequences. As the unprecedented growth in knowledge exacerbate inequalities between those who possess it and those who do not. Therapy generating growing inequalities both within peoples and among nations on our planet. And thus, simultaneously, all these challenges have a counterpart in hope, of course, and the extraordinary growth of knowledge may eventually lead to a mutation comparable to the transition from hominids to the human species. In international human rights law, the concept of transdisciplinarity has adopted to navigate the multivalent international system and, of course, explore ways to eradicate various forms of discrimination. Concept concepts like intersectionality, critical race theory, and post-colonial theory has been employed to align with the way from different forms of discrimination intersect and can be addressed throughout the lens of international law. Human rights are becoming increasingly transdisciplinary, primarily due to the collaboration among specialists from various disciplines, including political science, law, sociology, philosophy, history, anthropology, and why not psychology. TD, so called transdisciplinarity, has enabled researchers to explore human rights from various perspectives, including legal, historical, political, economic, social, and cultural domain. While legal scholars have focused on the development of international human rights legislation, political scientists have examined the role of states in safeguarding these rights. And sociologists have investigated the impact of human rights on social structures. At the same time, experts from various disciplines have exchanged expertise to better address the breadth of issues linked to these rights and freedoms. Social, political, and economic changes profoundly influence the legal theory of international law. Adapting it to the need of an interconnected international society. We need it. Economic globalization and new digital technology challenge traditional regulation, while climate change and global crises such as COVID-19 pandemic demand greater international cooperation. International law also face challenges related to sovereignty and to use of force, especially in the context of hybrid conflicts and cyber warfare. This transformation call for inter and transdisciplinary method of analyze to overcome the rigidity of traditional norms and address contemporary complexities. In this context, international law um, evolves into a flexible tool capable to balancing state sovereignty with the need for global solidarity, preparing for the technological and social reality of the 21st century, why not 22nd century? A wide range of analysis of this topic can be found in the collective volume Le droit international en transition, contribution à la 14e conférence sur le droit comparé international, presented at the international conference held in Bucharest on 14th of June 2024, published, as you can see on the slide, by L'Harmattan, Paris, just a month ago, I think. Why it is titled In Transition? When we try to give a title to this volume, we connect all our prestigious author, the topics discussed, and the current dynamics of international law. And we found something in theoretical debate, but some papers published at Oxford, for example, regarding transition in courts procedure or some connected with procedural things. But the entire international law, it is in a full transition. Maybe this is the reason for the conference of European Society of International Law for next year. It's called the reconstruction of international law. Because we are, in fact, discussing a clear metamorphosis of international law, a stage still in progress that will lead to a legal system generally breaking free from its conservatism to become an adequately adapted regulatory framework for international legal relations, addressing both climate change and the storm brought by the new technologies. This collective volume, coordinated by specialists in the field, writing by authors, prestigious authors, explore the transformations international law undergoes in light of new geopolitical and economic realities. The diverse topics covered, such as climate change and emerging technologies, are, in essence, analyzed through an invisible transdisciplinary lens. And the author seems to intuitively employ the methodology, even if not explicit references. I don't know if it's the case to show more about the rest of the articles, but I will try to do it because it's so interesting with such distinguished collection of authors as Federica Cristani, Paul Gills, Orsolia Zipic, Ana Campina, Carlos Rodriguez, and many others from Paolo De Brito, from abroad. We put together many ideas just to demonstrate something very interesting, because a new era began. A striking example is the article authored by Federica Cristani, which we thank you very much, so much, which demonstrate the transcendence of limitation imposed by unidisciplinary analysis paving the way for innovative and sustainable global solutions. Transdisciplinarity can naturally integrate into the article on the implication of facial recognition for human rights from the perspective of European courts of human rights by employing an analytical framework that goes beyond the confine of a single discipline. This is a so beautiful example. While the author does not explicitly invoke the concept of transdisciplinarity, analyzing facial recognition technology through the lens of fundamental rights inherently involve exploring the intersection of engineering, cybersecurity, sociology, and human rights. Just I number in just few. What transpired? The author successfully examined not only the applicable legal framework, but also the ethical implication and society impact, particularly on privacy and individual freedoms. The legal opinions of uh, European Court of Human Rights, the psychological analysis of user affected by surveillance, and even the economic impact of large-scale facial recognition deployment. This is not easy. It's a complexity. Edgar Morin, the great thinker of our time, he celebrated in July this year 103 years. Yes, it's a good example. He created the concept of complexity, but the complexity is not a scary concept. It is a very useful one. We use it intuitively. From this, we can initiate another debate on how technology influence the principle of proportionality in international human rights law. The second book, um, the second book, it's one published a few months ago. And talking more directly about transdisciplinarity. Uh, some colleagues tell me that it was, from my side, an act of courage to talk so frankly about it. But why not? Everybody use it. It's so beautiful concept. And in this second book, I would like to discuss it. Le dynamisme du droit international public contemporain et la transdisciplinarité. In this work, I aim to include both theoretical and practical aspects of public international law and its subfields, some branches. Article 8 of the 1994 Transdisciplinary Charter states the dignity of human beings, it is also cosmic and planetary in nature. The emergence of human beings on Earth is one of the stages in the history of the universe. Recognizing Earth as a homeland is one of the imperatives of transdisciplinarity. Every human being has the right to a nationality, but as a resident of Earth, they are also a transnational being. Recognition by international law of this dual belonging to a nation and to the earth is one of the goals of transdisciplinary research. And I hope to captain my interest for this topic many researchers, because when you talk about the concept vivre bien, for example, we cannot talk about it without talking about the planet, about the respect of all species in the world. I know this looks like a legend, like a fairy tale, but this is the reality, because we're talking about climate change, we're talking about wars, we're talking about human rights, and uh, we cannot go further without this kind of respect. This perspective suggests that human rights could gain greater inalienability and, consequently, better protection, including political safeguards. Education and research across all disciplines have begun focusing on new methodologies. Transdisciplinary is defined, but why lies between throughout and beyond all disciplines. For modern researcher, it is both a necessity and an inevitability at the end. The current metamorphosis in the legal theory of international law pertain to its development and adaptation to global social, political, and economic changes. The more diverse these changes, the more necessary multi and transdisciplinary methods of analysis become. This book challenges the return to cognitive standardization patterns. International academic activity heralds a true season of change in the near future. And the key, it's exactly these things, the preparation for this new era, applying inter and multi-methodological analytical approaches coupled with a transdisciplinary perspective, so essential today. While this may seem challenging, it is in reality a frequent practice. Researcher curiosity naturally follows this path. This method enables the integration of diverse perspectives from multiple domains, such social science, I already say this, technology, especially economy, creating a holistic framework for understanding modern social and legal phenomena. In this context of international law, such approach can facilitate conflict resolution by identifying intersection between disciplines and developing innovative solutions. By connecting humanities, we have to do it. We have to experience culture. Yes, connecting humanities, technology, this culture, new and relevant perspectives can be generated to address contemporary challenges such as climate change, global migration, or the digital revolution. This framework not only offers practical solutions, but also foster a deeper understanding of the complex phenomena shaping global society. The sustainability of human rights. Let's talk about just briefly about it. The sustainability of human rights is another component that can benefit from transdisciplinary approaches. It represents the capacity to maintain and protect human rights in a long term, ensuring concept as many factors such as climate change, environmental degradation, arms conflict, or economic instability can threaten or undermine human rights. Sustainability in human rights entails ensuring that these rights are respected and protecting not just now, but also in the future through the implementation of policies and measures then allow for their preservation over time. These policies must address challenges related to environment, sustainable development, poverty, alleviation, social justice, and gender equality. Achieving this goal requires close collaboration among governments, non-government organizations, and the private sector. Unfortunately, citizens must be aware of their rights, or we are lucky to do it, and have access to information and resource so that they can effectively fight for and protect these rights despite changes and obstacles. Neglecting transdisciplinarity has led us to reconsider this recommendation not only now, more urgently than ever. Perhaps if the world specialists had jumped together as Edward Wilson idea from 1998 in consilience come to our time, will be better. The level and quality of evolution will have been different. Um, I will try to go to the end, but briefly to present you some uh, points from specific documents, because for sure they weigh too much to be discovered by the specialist. The Siret UNESCO project of transdisciplinary evolution of the university critically synthesized the danger of disregarding transdisciplinarity, asserting that the sum of the best specialists in their respective fields can evidently result only in generalized incompetence, as the sum of the competencies that does not equal to competence. From a technical perspective, the intersection of various fields of knowledge is an empty hole. But what is a decision maker, whether individual or collective, if not one capable to consider all the elements of the issue under examination? This article is from Siret UNESCO project from 1997. Paragraph 6 of Science and Tradition Transdisciplinary Perspective Opening Towards the 21st Century in Paris, UNESCO, 2 to 6 December 1991, states, by definition, there can be no transdisciplinary experts. It's true. Only researcher with a transdisciplinary attitude who have to experience this transdisciplinary attitude. Let's see what's happened. Transdisciplinary research can only rely on the various activity of art, poetry, philosophy, symbolic thought, science, and tradition, themselves understood in their multiplicity and diversity. They may lead to new freedoms of the mind through transhistorical or transreligious studies, for instance, or new concepts such transnationality, or new trans-political practices, inaugurating transdisciplinary education in the final and ecology. The 1997 Siret UNESCO project on transdisciplinary evolution of the university notes on page 3, harmony between mentalities and knowledge requires that this knowledge be intelligible. But can understanding still exist in the age of disciplinary big bangs and excessive specialization? This is one of the questions. A modern Pico de la Mirandola is inconceivable. Two specialists within the same discipline now struggle to comprehend each other's findings. While this is not monstrous collective intelligence within the community of a given discipline drives progress, it is impossible for a single mind to grasp all results from all its peers. Today, I already say there are over 9,000 disciplines, compared to merely a few hundred to 90 years. Yes, how can a theoretically particle physicist, is just a question, converse uh, with a neuropsychologist, a mathematician with a poet, a biologist with an economist, or a politician in the final with a computer scientist beyond banal generalities? And yet, a true decision maker should be able to dialogue with all of them simultaneously. Disciplinary language uh, is an almost insurmountable barrier for a neophyte, and we are all neophytes in relation with others. Is the Tower of Babel inevitable? This process of Babelization, as UNESCO call it, cannot continue without endangering our very existence. as it renders decision makers increasingly incompetent, despite their responsibility for making critical decisions. The major challenges of our time, including ethical challenges, demand over greater competencies. I will try to conclude now and just to go to the end. And to tell you something, uh, something that it's already written in the codify, let's say like this, in the recommendation for the future, the message from Villa Vittoria, Second World Congress of Transdisciplinarity, held on 6 to 12 September in 2005 in Brazil. They recommend in 2005 something like this: international, itinerant transdisciplinary chairs, virtual transdisciplinary universities. It's such a beautiful future. Undergraduate, specialization, masters, and doctoral programs for studying transdisciplinarity. And in the last, virtual networks and center for transdisciplinary study, research, and action. In conclusion, a transcultural, transcultural, transreligious, transpolitical, and transnational attitude can be learned. Hence, university and education are vital. Such attitude allow deeper exploration of one's own culture, better defense of national interest, and greater respect for one's religious or political convictions. Um, why not? Maybe you already guess this is important for peace in the world. For those interested in transdisciplinarity, the primary documents in English are available on the CIRET website. I put here for your knowledge. De cuivam. Thank you very much. This was my presentation. In the meantime, I watching the chat to see if I received some question, but not yet. I am here. If you uh, okay.
Thank you so much, Christina. That was really great presentation. It was super interesting, and congratulations on your work on this. So I'm opening the floor for any questions that you may have. You can raise your hands or write in the chat, and we will answer, and Christina will answer everything. In the meantime, I have just one quick question for you, Christina, if I may. It's
Yes.
how do you see then it's something that you were mentioning at the end, but something that I'm very interested to know more about is how you see legal education also for lawyers so that they can use this transdisciplinarity method.
I am so happy. Thank you very much for this question. Um, it, maybe everybody know that education stands to evolution of human rights. Despite the methodological difficulties highlighted, it remains possible to identify the acts of the transdisciplinary evolution of universities, because why not? We can start with transdisciplinary education um, very early, yes. But the important step it's the evolution of universities, because intercultural and transcultural education as a foundation for peace and international and transnational understanding, emphasizing the art science dialogue as a central axis of new education, reconciling the artificially antagonistic scientific and artistic cultures through a multidimensional approach, to transform mentalities. It's so important also integrating the digital revolution into the university education, interreligious and trans-religious education, fostering an appreciation for the unique future of various religious and non-religious traditions, leading to a trans-religious worldview. Transdisciplinary education is so important because promoting flexibility and tolerance in young people's training and mental openness, addressing exclusion, failed aspiration, inequality, and the divide between individual and social life. Transpolitical education, I will try to answer how if I can. Transpolitical education, respecting the interest of states and nations in an increasingly globalized world. Concrete institutional measure fostering transdisciplinary in educator-learner relationship. So, promoting transdisciplinary research in legal scholarship means understanding legal phenomena and social phenomena. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Are there any the questions from the public? Uh, Otherwise, we have also another questions linked more to human rights protection, maybe. And how do you see maybe the application on this new methodology on transdisciplinarity on the protection of human rights in the sense if there is some change in the role of states, for example, on how they perceive human rights, how they use human rights? Does transdisciplinarity can give us some instruments maybe to explain better the use also human rights by states or also by other actors. I don't know.
Yes, thank you very much. The question is so interesting because and I waiting for one like it because with 30 years ago um, human rights become to be um, analyzed and put under lens by transdisciplinary methodology, but not from the main point of for the classical um, concept of human rights, and especially for women rights, for children rights, for everything it's new and need a protection. Um, if you i- if I can go with this explanation further, I will give you a quote for Ernildo Stein, specialists from South America. Ah, by the way, in South America, they have a very good school of transdisciplinarity, even in Mexico, in Brazil. And also, I wrote an article with a colleague from Brazil, Eduardo Seino Viviurca, regarding this um, issue. Uh, but uh, really for me as a specialist in international law and transdisciplinarity, I cannot imagine one day uh, of human rights without this connection, without using this methodology. Because as the suffix trans um, already tell us a lot of about the methodology, it's easy to start from an education, and after that it's a matter just to collect uh, fundamental human rights or to transform them from um, simple choices, because human rights become as a choice. And in the final, depend of the trajectory if this choice will become a human right or a fundamental human right. But I will come back to Ernildo Stein, who says we should only write about certain topics when our analysis has opened up a new space. This is so beautiful. This is our mission, to open a new space. Yes. Otherwise we fall into repetition, gloss, or even parody. He said, in law, this has happened with scandalous frequency. We therefore rejoice whenever a new perspective is presented, whether to broaden the theoretical vision, to raise uh, hypotheses about casuistry, or to make, this is so important, to make a new contribution to the epistemic universe. So let's create together this new space to develop human rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. There are any other questions? I don't see them, but yeah, yes, Esther, Professor Esther Helen Karle is from University of Gothenburg, so we're package leader in the HR Just project. Thank you so much, Esther, for joining us today, and please, thank you.
Thank you, and many congratulations on the book. I'm looking forward to reading it, and thank you for the great presentation. I just have a question about a clarification, because I wonder the difference between multidisciplinarity and transdisciplinarity, if it matters a lot to human rights law. That's my first question. And the second question is the political dimension. Is it, I mean, if we look at the world today, the political landscape doesn't look so hopeful for human rights. So I was wondering what you see as the contribution of transdisciplinarity, if that is the education you are talking about that's important.
That's
So
right.
that's my question.
Thank you very much. Um, when I start, but I talk just in general about this difference between inter, multi, and transdisciplinarity. Because when we, maybe you already do it, you start to read some papers, and you see that, for example, in common law system, they didn't call transdisciplinarity like this. Uh, and for many times, they call it interdisciplinarity. But it's a confusion. We have to rigorous apply the differences. You put a so important question, because the primary distinction between pluri and interdisciplinarity lies in the relationship established between the combined disciplines. Multidisciplinarity merely brings together independent disciplines to contribute collectively to a scientific endeavor, while interdisciplinary merge to transform methods, generating new and improved tools more suited to the research subject. Transdisciplinary, in exchange, come not like a super discipline and goes even further, seeking unity of knowledge beyond isolated disciplines, whereas pluri and interdisciplinary research always remain within traditional disciplinary boundaries. Um, that's why transdisciplinary is so important. And maybe um, you're thinking if for this, or maybe you see this danger. If we will apply, for example, for human rights, transdisciplinary methodology, maybe the autonomy of the discipline will disappear. Yes, maybe will be mixed with other one and transform in, I don't know, what was transformed, for example, international organization law was uh, uh, split from public international law and was created global law. The global law is specific for international organization because the international public law, the bill, was not uh, um, adapted and ready, yes, to move further. But let's see the thing like this. We know transdisciplinary now, we know what means. Uh, but we all are like doctors, you know. Let's imagine a discipline as men who waiting for a surgery. And for example, international law waiting for a surgery. And uh, start thinking, I will die. I will be better after this. Uh, depend of the team of the doctors, no, in the final. Depend of the team. That's why it's so important. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christina. And I think this very good wrap is a good wrap up for our webinar today. So thank you again so much, Christina, for your presentation and for the discussion, for staying with us today. And thanks to all the participants for being here today, for all the comments, questions. Thanks so much also Professor Helen Karler from the HR Just Project also to stay with us. It's very great to have you. Thanks also to great thanks to the conference service of the Institute of International Relations in Prague, especially to Anastasia, Vanna, Joanna, without whom this webinar would not have been possible. And great thanks also to Barbara, junior researcher of the HR Just Project, for the support in organizing everything. And I invite all of you to stay tuned for our next webinar in the series. There will be all the information also on the Institute's website. So thanks a lot again. Take good care and have a great day.
Thank you very much. I am so
Thank
grateful,
you.
happy to be here. Thank you. Wishing you good luck and happy holidays, everybody.
Also, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
And thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.